loud.
Wonderful. Great. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome, and thank you so much for spending your lunch hour to talk about Sautter Award. I'm Yvonne Tevis. I'm Chief of Staff in the IT department at UCOP. I edit the UC IT blog, and I've been coordinating the Sautter Award program since 2002. So I think I'm kind of biased, but I believe that this is a really, really fabulous program. It's always super exciting every year to get the applications and read through them. I love to talk with people individually beforehand if they want about their application and how they might pitch it. I love seeing who's been selected and who wins. And it's just a really awesome way, I think, for everyone around the system to let others know about the cool things that they've been working on and to get recognition for that, frankly, whether or not you win, as you will see. So let's see, I'm going to move my slides. There we go. All right, so today, the purpose from my perspective is really to have an informal conversation with you. What are your questions about applying for the Sautter Award? I am going to, provide a little background. I have a few slides, and I'm actually going to take us out to the program website because I want to make sure that you see all the information that is there that is useful and important for you. But then mostly I really want to answer your questions. So I know it's a little awkward because we've muted everybody, to prevent a lot of background noise being disturbing. But there is chat, and Alexa is monitoring the chat, and she'll just interrupt me and ask questions throughout the presentation. And then at the end, we'll unmute and certainly ask questions then. So the idea is really just for us to have a conversation. And I wanted to point out, I put this logo here of the University of California's sesquicentennial, because as you know, even though not all campuses have been around for 150 years, the university has. So that I think of that as 150 years of innovation. And so for me, I think this is a really auspicious year for us to emphasize innovation in IT. And I hope that means that a lot of you will submit applications. I hope we can try to get applications from every campus. Maybe it'll be our banner year. Okay. So the program is officially called the Larry L. Sautter Award Program for Innovation in Information Technology. Larry Sautter was a Associate Vice Chancellor at the Riverside campus, and the CIO there, Chuck Rowley at the time, is the one who really put forward the notion of having this award and naming it for Larry, and Chuck was a great proponent of the award all the years that he was working here at UC. Anyway, the award is sponsored by the ITLC, the IT Leadership Council, which is composed of all the campus and health system CIOs. And a small committee of CIOs each year are the people who select the award. And I just want to say that while I do coordinate the program, I'm not on the selection committee. And unfortunately, I have really no input or sway over who gets the awards. But that's kind of good because then that means that I can talk really freely with you. And the CIOs over the years they've revised the criteria for awards a little bit, but I would say that the essence of the program has always been very true to the notion of they want to recognize innovation in the IT sphere at UC. And they want to recognize collaboration, whether that's, between departments on a campus or especially between campuses. The collaboration has become a really key component of the award. The awards are given for projects, not to individuals. You can see in the picture, these are the plaques from 2015. You can see project names are listed, not individuals' names. Every year I get questions from one or two people saying, I would like to, or not really questions, they're just saying, I would like to nominate so-and-so for a Sautter Award. And that's not how it works. It's about putting forth an application or proposal for a project to get an award. Of course, a team comes and picks up the awards, and people on the team get a lot of recognition, but it is for a project. You can submit as many applications as you want, any location, all the 10 campuses, A&R, LBNL, Hastings, Office of the President, they from any location, as many projects as you want. But the one caveat I want to put out there, this doesn't happen too often, but, and you can always ask me later if your project would fall into this category or not. But if you have, you know, many components of a larger project, like many technical components, that should be one application. You're really representing one business solution. So that's just something to keep in mind. All right, let's see. Yes, so now I want to take you out to the program website and just go through that just a little bit. So I'm going to get out of my slides. There we go. And then I'm going to bring up the program website. Let's see, I have to go back up here. Okay, program description. So the reason I'm doing this is just to make sure that everybody has kind of slogged through the whole description and seen all the components, and they can see all the things that they need to do. You can see that the program website talks about eligibility, the selection criteria, the selection committee, the application procedure, and then the award announcements. So let's just go up and talk through a couple of these. Eligibility, as I mentioned, you know, faculty members and staff members from any UC location can submit awards. Absolutely, that's wonderful. In fact, we really hope that we get awards, applications from every location. But the one thing that I want you to be aware of is the awards need, the awards, I keep saying awards, the projects need to be, they need to have been deployed within the last 3 years, and they need to be operational. So that's this sentence right here. So in other words, this is not theoretical innovation. It's something that's operational, deployed, it works, it's proven. That's a really important component of the program. If you have a project that is still in pilot phase and you haven't really deployed it to be operational, well then maybe you submit the application next year. There's usually plenty of other things that you could submit an application for. Let's see, okay, the selection criteria, I think they seem pretty self-explanatory to me, but I think it's important to read through them all and make sure you really understand what they are. So be innovative, of course, present a unique, new, or different solution to a problem. And that's key. You're talking about a business problem or a problem, you know, for the university in some manner. It could be an academic problem. Have the potential to affect broad positive change in the university environment, demonstrate collaboration, improve operational efficiency or usability or accessibility for individuals with disabilities, be shareable, interoperable, or readily implementable elsewhere. So that's part of that collaboration concept as well. And the CIOs who are on the selection committee, they understand very well that most projects will not be in any way be able to demonstrate all of these criteria or even most of them. And that's okay. They really understand that, but it's super important for you to see which are the criteria that you really shine in and emphasize those in your application. You should, of course, always emphasize the innovation aspect. There needs to be some, you know, you need to describe why your project is innovative. And I just encourage everybody to try to demonstrate collaboration if it's feasible. But don't let that not be a reason to submit an application. Okay. So then the other thing I wanted to show you was we have listed the current and previous awards. So I'm going to click on that link. Okay. So you can see here that all applications to the Sautter Award program are posted on the web from the 2 that we received the first year in 2001 to, let's look at last year, 2017. I think we got 23 awards. And we have had over 30, I think the highest number was 36. But anyway, there can be many, many awards. And the reason that we list all the applications is because the CIOs truly believe that the benefit, a major benefit of the program is for you to be able to share the work that you've done, and so that others can learn from it and be inspired from it. Because really, in their opinion, every project that is proposed for an award is worthy and is successful, or you wouldn't be proposing it. It's something that's operational. It's been deployed. It's solving a problem of the universities. So that is the recognition that you get just simply by applying to the Sautter Award. And it's a really great thing. I mean, I more and more realize that how important it is to identify the good work that we do, and to make sure that other people can learn from it and can know about it, and that you and your team simply get recognized. And the Sautter Award program is a way to do that, whether or not you get the actual award. I, as the program coordinator, like the fact that all the applications are posted, because I think it's a super resource for you to be able to click through a little bit and see what looks to have been successful applications. And I want to do that just for a minute here with you. We're going to look at a couple together. So I'm going to choose a couple from last year. We'll do this one that got a golden award. That's the Pre-Hospital to Emergency Department Data Exchange. Okay, so this is about being able to provide medical information, medical record kind of data from in the field at the emergency site, and in an ambulance with paramedics, and send the record of what's happened to this patient to the emergency room, so that record gets to the emergency room before the ambulance can even bring the patient there. And that means that the clinicians at the emergency room are ready, prepared to treat the patient the moment he or she gets there. So it's a pretty cool thing. And what is important to note about this, well, here you can see all these collaborators. But what's important to note about this, this project is that they clearly state the problem that they're going to solve. And it's right here. One area that remains unconnected from this growing exchange of patient data is the pre-hospital emergency setting, basically. So they're clearly stating the problem, and that's super, super important. And then you'll see if we scroll down a little bit, blah, 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 we go down, they get to the measures of success. And so they're telling us what the impact of their solution is on the university. Now for them, it's pretty major. It's like the project has improved emergency care and saved lives. And of course, that's wonderful, but it's also a really high bar for a lot of projects. And I just wanted to highlight this one because it's such an obvious way to emphasize impact of the project. But no matter what your project is about, pulling out and articulating to the selection committee what the impact has been is super important. And yes, here they list the collaborative teams and so forth. So that's one. And then let's see, I want to go back and go through another project. So I thought we'd look at this one for a silver award from last year. It's called DASH, an easy to use data publication service. So this was submitted by the California Digital Library, which of course is all about data exchange and data repositories. And again, they clearly state the problem that there's all this data intensive science, but it can only realize its full potential if there's basically if you can get to the data and if you can share it and reuse it. But they list a number of reasons why that's been problematic in the past. And so again, the problem is clearly defined, and then I'm going to scroll down. We get to the solution, and lo and behold, look what the CDL did. They created DASH, a well-designed, user-friendly data publication platform that can be layered on top of existing community repositories. So you can see that that's already got an advantage. You're not having to build something rather than creating a new repository or rebuilding community resources from the ground up. Let's see. Intuitive interface, researchers are able to document and preserve with minimal support required from repository staff. They can actually find, retrieve, and reuse data. Now, of course, the rest of the application has to talk about how this, how this came about and a little bit more about the project. But they very, very clearly talk about the value that this project resulted in. And they list the collaboration, that deployment timeline, so that we know when this became operational. They talk a little bit about the technology, which is good. Okay. Any questions yet, Alexa?
No questions yet. However, okay. One person has thanked you so far.
Well, that's very kind. Okay, I know I don't want to drag this on forever, but I thought it would be worth going and looking at yet one more application from a previous year. Let's see. So what one did I choose? Choose 2016. Yes, I thought we could look at secure compute research environment. This is from UC Santa Barbara. I wanted to bring up a project like this because, at least in my mind, this is more of a sort of purely technological kind of product. It's not necessarily about saving people out in the field, saving people's lives, but it's a really, really important project. You can see they describe the problem and they get to the solution, a private, secured virtual environment in which researchers may remotely analyze sensitive data, create research results, and output their research results in environment. So yeah, just scrolling through. Yeah, they list the technical components a little bit. They talk about collaboration, etc. All right, so that's probably enough of that. I think I'll go back to my slides because what I want to do is get into the heart of the matter, which is really to talk to you about how you can create a bang-up application. So the first aspect to really keep in mind is be succinct, use plain English, stay within the 5-page limit. So the CIOs are people too, and they don't want to read pages and pages and pages, so that's why we've kept it to the 5-page limit. But beyond that too, please keep in mind that the CIOs are probably not experts in the technology that you're working with, and so that's why it's so important to just, use plain English, not tech talk.
By the way, Yvonne?
Yes.
Moshkan asks, the limit is 5 pages. If we reference a website for additional information about the initiative, is that material considered in the proposal?
Oh yeah, I mean, you can definitely reference, you can provide URLs and screenshots, and the URLs are really useful and helpful, and many of the CIOs will definitely look at that and go out to those websites. I would just make sure that you feel that within the 5 pages that you do submit, you've told the whole story. But definitely you can include URLs for additional reference and information. It's really helpful, actually. Okay, so, all right, so we talked about, plain English, 5-page limit, and here's an important one. Include the requested information. So for this, I'm actually going to go back out to our website because I think it's important to go through those sections. So here we are back at the program description. We scroll down past the selection criteria. Here's the application procedure, and I'm kind of highlighting here with my cursor. These are the sections that you need to include in your application. A project title, the submitter's name, title, and contact information, the name of the project leader, and the names of all the team members. It's really great. We want to recognize everybody who worked on the project. And then here's one that's new this year. It's a simple, short statement, even just one sentence, summarizing what the project does. And the reason that I've included that this year is because I think it's going to be really helpful to kind of ground the CIOs in, okay, this is what the project is. Now I'm going to read the rest of the application. Because again, you have to remember they've gotten up to 30 applications. Everyone leaves everything till later than they should. They've got a lot of work to do ahead of them to read carefully. And if you can give them this nice little short, here's what our project does now, here's what the problem was, et cetera, here's the solution, I think it's going to really help ground them and get them to dive right in and understand and appreciate your project. And so one way you can think about how to do that is imagine you did win the award, and now you have to issue a press release to all the news agencies around, and you need to say in a very, very short way, what is it that you've achieved? What is the project doing? So then the rest of the application is just a project narrative. Describe the problem being solved, the project goals, emphasize the solution and innovation, not the technical detail. Show how it's impacted customers. That's a really important point. How the project success was measured, highlight collaboration, provide that time frame of deployment, briefly describe the technology utilized. So you saw in some of those applications, it was just a really short paragraph. So we're acknowledging that technology is important, it's critical, the project wouldn't be there if it weren't for the technology. But again, what the CIOs are looking for is how has this made something different and better for the University of California? And then you see here, you can provide screenshots or URLs. And that's funny, it says included in the 5-page limit. That's kind of ambiguous, isn't it, Mojgan? This, to be honest with you, if you have a few screenshots and it goes over the 5-page just because of the screenshots, that might be okay. You're just trying to keep this really short. The URLs, of course, you can include as many URLs as you want, and they will look at them or not as they want. So let's see.
Yvonne?
Yes. Yes.
We actually have 2 more questions.
Okay, great.
The first one by Stephen Hamilton is, does it matter which member of the project team submits the application?
That's a really good question. No, it absolutely doesn't matter. That's just because we need to know who we're communicating with in order to, let you know what's going on with the award program. I need a single point of contact, basically.
Great. And Julia Wallace was wondering, approximately how many submissions does the program get each year?
Yeah, so I think at one point I figured that we get an average of 27, but again, you have to keep in mind that's going back to 2001 where we got 2. I think we've had up to 36 in a year. So it does vary from year to year, and I haven't been able to, it varies by numbers of about 10, I think, year over year. And they kind of seems to go, as I'm remembering it, it seems like it goes back and forth. Like one year will be a little bit more, and another year maybe fewer. But again, I think for this sesquicentennial year, we need to make it lots of applications. So I'm going to go back to the slideshow. And let's see where we are. Okay, so we were talking about including all that requested information. And I want to highlight that because there are applications that get submitted and they don't have all those points. We need to have all that information. Highlight the collaboration. We've talked about that. But I want to say that, the CIO values are really, I guess backing up just a little bit. These days, everyone talks about the importance of sharing resources, right? And of learning from each other. And I believe that those really are the values of the CIOs and from the IT Leadership Council. So that collaboration is how you can demonstrate that you are doing those things. Those are values, and to the degree that you can show that, it's super important. Take credit for it, highlight it. Emphasize, another thing to include in your application is to really spell out what is the impact that your solution has had. Because the awards aren't given just to reward technology for technology's sake. They are because you're using technology to solve a problem or create an opportunity for the university. So the award is really about that. It's not about the technology. And you need to make sure that we understand that when we read your application. And finally, this is sort of the classic thing that everyone says about anything, whether it's a presentation or a proposal, but you're telling a story. What's that little spark that makes this exciting? Let us know. I think some very pragmatic advice that I would like to give to all of you is, do your rough draft, and then maybe you could give your draft to somebody else who's not involved in the project. Maybe it's someone else in your department, maybe even another department, and have them read through it and let them tell you, did they understand what your project was about, and did they understand the value that your project has? And I think that'll give you some really, really good feedback so you can go back and do some edits and put forth a fabulous award application.
Great. And Yvonne, may I ask another question?
Absolutely.
So we have 2 more questions, and they are somewhat related.
Okay.
The first one is, does the release year matter? Can someone submit an application this year for a product that went into service 2 years ago?
Yeah, because it was deployed within the last 3 years. So yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. And our second question is, our team does innovative work every year, but it is on a project that is 20 years old. Is it worth it for us to put in the time to nominate a part of this project? We were not successful with our nomination in 2016, Ilios V3 curriculum management system, but I'm not sure if that was because our app wasn't good enough in the moment or because our work doesn't meet the criteria.
Yeah. So we might want to talk more offline about that specifically. I don't know the answer to that. My general advice would be, yes, it is worth the time. I think we just need to find a way to show why what you did most recently, that component of it that you're putting forth in the program this year, why that's innovative and new. What's the big value that you've been able to provide recently? But we could also talk more about that specifically.
Great, thanks.
Okay, all right, sure. I love getting the questions. That's the point of this. All right, so how do the winners get selected? As you see, the deadline is May 18th, so you still have a little bit of time. Yes, you do submit a PDF or a Word document to me via email. You want them to be a nicely formatted, easy to read document. That's why. This is all about making it easy and pleasant and a great experience for the selection committee to read through your application. So it's really worth spending a little time on the formatting. I'll put them all together and then give them to the selection committee to read through. We give them a little bit of time to do that because hopefully they'll have a lot of work ahead of them to read a lot of applications. And then we schedule a meeting for them in June or July, depending on when we can get these very, very busy people together. We actually start scheduling that meeting now because that's the only way we'll get something on the calendar. And then after they meet and they make their decisions, we will inform all the applicants at least within a week. And some of those applicants will then be going to UC Davis. Because if you win, the awards are presented every year at the UC Computing Services Conference, which this year, as I'm sure you know, is at Davis, August 13 to 15. And someone from the team really should be at the conference to represent your team and be there to pick up the awards. And, you know, it's a wonderful thing. You get a lot of props from other people at the conference. You get props back home. It's just a lot of fun. And so someone should be there to pick up the awards. If worse comes to worse and no one from your team could attend, then someone from your campus needs to be assigned to pick up your award for you. But we really do want to see the team members or some of the team members, because some of these teams are really, really large, but at least a few of the team members are there. And as I say, it's just a great, really fun experience. We do issue a press release the day of that announcement out to all the campuses, so it hits your news sites. We post it in the UC IT blog. You all will get plaques and certificates depending on the level of award, and it's great. I think from what I've heard from past winners that even if this sounds very, I don't know what the word is, but it seems like the best reward of all really is just getting that honor with your team members and then being able to be at the conference to receive that honor. So yeah, so that is all that I have prepared so far to talk about, and I think we could unmute now, Alexa, and see if we have just general questions. And anybody who's on a cell phone maybe could use their cell phone.
Yeah.
And you can still send questions by chat.
Great, and we actually have 3 questions in the chat right now, and I could read them out if you'd like.
Okay, sure.
So we have one from Karen, and that is, in terms of team members, how much involvement is required to be qualified as a team member?
That's totally up to you. There's no way I could possibly define that. You know, I just think if you go and you look at some of those prior applications, you'll see pretty long lists of team members. And then you'll see some applications that have just, I don't know, 5 or 3. So it really just depends. If you feel like people were truly part of the team, then list them.
Yeah, and also UC Santa Cruz had an honorable mention once where an intern was a team member, and I thought that was really important.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
And then from Mojgan, we have, are all CIOs on the selection committee?
No. So there are 5 CIOs that serve on the selection committee, and they rotate each year. So the same 5. Well, Tom Andriola from UCOP serves on the selection committee every year, but the other 4 rotate. And I have a little rotation schedule, so they don't get out of it. And actually, a health CIO is on the committee every year, so it's at least 3 campus CIOs, a health CIO, and then the UC CIO via Tom.
Are the proposals anonymized? Like, do they know it's from that campus?
Oh yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, no, they're not. They are going to get exactly what you submit to me. They're going to get that document, and I will say that often a CIO will say, well, how can I judge? How can I? These are my team submitting this application. But the same is true for every single CIO on the selection committee. They always have teams submitting applications, and so they really just put that aside and they judge each application on its merits per the selection criteria.
Great.
And I will
we
say
have another
too,
question.
Yeah, now just to finish that thought as I'm thinking about it, they're very, very committed to being very fair and to carefully and fairly consider every application. It's interesting because they agree to be on the committee, then I send them all the applications and they think, oh my gosh, this is so much. And after we're done, they all say how much they enjoyed it and how much value they got out of it. And again, it's just being able to read all about this great work going on across the whole university.
Thank you. There's one more question in the group chat, and that's from Stephen, and it is, if our system is behind campus single sign-on and a role system, the selection committee wouldn't be able to access it. Would it be appropriate to include a URL in those cases?
I may not be understanding that exactly, but you're saying that there's no reason to include the URL because the selection committee wouldn't be able to go to it?
Yes, that's what I mean. We do only allow certain. We have a student-facing system, so any student can access it. But on the staff side, we have to provision those users to be able to use it.
Yeah, that is no problem. I mean, to be honest with you, I think that's been true of many applications, and you could include some screenshots that you think are important. Again, the CIOs aren't going to really want to have to go out into a system themselves and troll through it in order to figure out whether it works well or not. They just want you to tell them the story. So it really is in those 5 pages and maybe a few screenshots. If you want to provide a URL for more reference, you can. They might look at it, but what they're really going to be paying attention to is the document that you've presented. So I wouldn't worry about that at all.
All right, thank you.
Other questions? I also want to say that, I put this title up here, if we think of questions later, because I know that's what happens to me. It's like that perfect retort you think of hours later. I'm always here, call me, send me an email, happy to talk with you about your specific project or just anything. So don't think this is your last chance. And any other questions right now?
Stephen asked, is this Zoom meeting recorded for us to watch later? And yes, it is. The link will be up on the UCIT blog. We'll also be posting it on Slack.
We'll also post it directly from the Sautter Award program website. Any other questions? I don't want to close too early.
Is it okay if I ask one more question?
Please.
Okay. So last year we had a submission from UC San Diego. It was about IT video pros, and I had never seen a submission like that before. It wasn't highly technical at all, but it was a really cool kind of more of a community building thing for the video technology professionals. Can you talk a little bit about, I guess, the range of proposals or proposals that kind of stood out to you because they were different?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because, you know, it's innovation in information technology. That is the award. So there is kind of a basic assumption that there needs to be some technology component. But I don't think that we should limit ourselves to I don't think people should say, you know, oh, but this, therefore I shouldn't submit my application because I'm not actually, you know, if we're working in technology and we're engaged, you know, something about this project is about technology and we're providing value that is related to technology, I think it's fair to submit it. In that particular one, I think there wasn't enough sort of value there, as I recall. Not that there wasn't value, but just in terms of like making a real impact on the university. I think that was more the issue. So maybe that's the thing to keep in mind, is that it may not be such a technology project, but if you feel like you're making a big impact, then it's really definitely worth submitting.
Well, I think that may be all of our questions.
Last chance, but not really the last chance, because you can always reach out to me separately. Well, thank you everybody for participating and for asking all the questions that you did. I really appreciate that. And as I say, this will be recorded, and you have my name and number and email, and call me later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. I'll stop the recording.